ordinary session. Delivering his 2012 midterm report, ECOWAS Commission President Ambassador Kadri Desiree Ouedraogo said the people of West Africa were looking up to the heads of state and governments to create a democratic, peaceful, secure and stable region.
La CEDEAO est assurément l'instrument à votre disposition.
ECOWAS is without a doubt the instrument that lies ready to hand to enable you to fulfill their hopes and aspirations. On behalf of the new Commission and on my own behalf, I give you this undertaking that we will strive relentlessly to deepen the West African integration process and achieve realization of the noble ideals of our community. Its numerous achievements notwithstanding, our community continues to face enormous challenges, not the least of which are the crises which are presently experiencing in Mali and Guinea-Bissau. Your Excellencies, you have, in a concerted regional response, invested much energy and effort to ensure a return to peace and constitutional normalcy in these two sister countries. This body, which represents the highest level of decision-making in the community, has succeeded in setting up inclusive transition mechanisms to this end, which need only to be consolidated.
Asseoir des mécanismes de transition inclusifs qui ne demandent qu'à être consolidés.
He promised to intensify the attainment of the goal of regional integration, while concerted efforts to restore constitutional order in Mali and Guinea-Bissau will be sustained.
Stability
and peace are an absolute precondition for economic and social development. However, there can be no stability without compliance with the principles of democracy, good governance, and the respect of universal human rights and values. We must therefore strive to entrench a culture of democracy in our sub-region. It is inconceivable that in the 21st century we should continue to live with coup d'etat and takeover of power by unconstitutional means. The people have a right to expect respect of their constitution and the ability to freely choose their rulers. This is why ECOWAS stands firmly by the Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance and the Protocol on the Mechanisms for Conflict Prevention and Resolution. It is against this backdrop that, pursuant to your most apt decision, we initiated dialogue with the United Nations Security Council with a view to obtaining a resolution for the deployment under the terms of Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter of an ECOWAS standby force in Mali in order to have the country respond to this serious security crisis, which is a threat not only to our region but also to the international community.
Non seulement pour notre région, mais aussi pour la communauté internationale.
Chairperson of the African Union, Jean Ping, who addressed the summit, noted the determination of ECOWAS to take up the challenges of promoting peace and security in the sub-region. He congratulated ECOWAS for the interventions in Mali and Guinea-Bissau, lamenting that the coup there had derailed democratic governance and destabilized the region's development agenda. Mr. Peng assured ECOWAS heads of state and governments of the African Union's commitment to support them to realize their objective of bringing peace and stability to the region.
Je voudrais, en ce qui concerne nos efforts communs,
on the issue of our efforts to find a durable solution to the situation in Mali, I would like to reaffirm my conviction that a coordinated action is sustained, which shows that ECOWAS, more than any other organization with the support of our partners, beginning with the United Nations and the European Union, is necessary to face the situation in the north of the country. To this end, the African Union is equally convinced that it is important to complete as a priority the restoration of constitutional order, supports the transition process, facilitate dialogue between all the actors in Mali, and build the biggest possible consensus to help the Malian Authority drive the negotiations and put in place the necessary action to re-establish the authority of the state and the preservation of the unity and the territorial integrity of Mali. ECOWAS has to equally cope with the break in constitutional order in Guinea-Bissau following the military coup of April 12, 2012. The situation in Guinea-Bissau is worrisome to the African Union and ECOWAS. During the past years, our two organizations, with the support of international partners, have deployed our joint efforts to put an end to the circle of chronic instability and political violence that marked the political history of these countries. The situation is urgent, particularly the implementation of the reform of the defense and security sector and the real subordination of the army to elected democratic authorities. I would like to assure of African Union's continuous support for ECOWAS in a visible efforts to find a sustainable solution to the chronic instability in Guinea-Bissau. It is in this respect that it is necessary to continue the consultations between all the international actors to facilitate a coordinated approach and support for the efforts of the ECOWAS with the aim of restoring constitutional order to complete the reform of the defense and security and the fight against drug trafficking and impunity.
Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for West Africa, Said Djinnit, similarly commended the initiatives of ECOWAS leaders in Mali and Guinea-Bissau. He told the heads of state and governments that the UN supports all efforts undertaken by AU and ECOWAS to restore constitutional order in Mali, adding that the UN is also committed and ready to work alongside ECOWAS to protect the territorial integrity of Mali.
Je disais, la disposition des Nations Unies a continué de soutenir les efforts déployés par la CEDEAO.
I reaffirm the position of the United Nations to support ECOWAS efforts with the cooperation of the African Union to help Mali to restore the constitutional order and our territorial integrity and cope with the terrorist menace which constitutes a serious concern to the region and the international community in its entirety. These concerns confirms the rise in terrorist activities in the northern region of Mali. This compounds the humanitarian situation of the people in the north of Mali. I urge ECOWAS mediator President Blaise Compaoré to use the opportunity of their preliminary discussion with the army to stress access to the people who need humanitarian assistance. I would also urge the Malian government, who will gain, as I believe they are already aware, to help mobilize forces to come out of the institutional crisis and to solve the security and humanitarian crisis that prevails in the north of Mali. On Guinea-Bissau, I salute the great efforts of the ECOWAS, first of all in freeing the detained politicians and mainly in stopping the situation from deteriorating. I encourage the contact group with the support of the African Union and the United Nations and other partners to continue their efforts to bring to an end the institutional crisis and reunite the forces of Guinea-Bissau.
Qui réunissent l'ensemble des forces vives de Guinée-Bissau en réponse à l'appel de la communauté internationale et aux attentes des populations de Guinée-Bissau.
Speech is done with. The 41st Ordinary Summit of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government went into a closed-door session. At the end of the closed-door meeting, the leaders issued a 49-point communique that touched on a broad spectrum of issues concerning the socio-economic and political development of the region. In the communique that was presented by ECOWAS Commission President Kadri Desiré Ouedraogo, the leaders welcomed the positive economic growth rate of 6.4% recorded in the region in 2011 and the bright prospects for 2012. To create the environment for the realization of these prospects, the heads of state and governments took certain decisions. They instructed the ECOWAS Commission to fast-track the establishment of the Common External Tariff, CET, finalize the Community Investment Code, consolidate the common market, and step up the implementation of the Common Industrial Policy. The leaders reiterated their determination to remove the impediments to the effective implementation of the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement of persons and goods and the right of establishment.
À cet égard, les chefs d'État et de gouvernement.
To this end, the head of state and government commit themselves to the pursuit of efforts aimed at harmonizing budgetary and fiscal policies among member states in order to ensure greater macroeconomic convergence, in particular They reiterate their determination to remove the impediment to the effective implementation of the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement of persons and goods and the right of establishment.
Et des biens et le droit d'établissement.
On the Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA,